Trucker the Sky, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Zay, collectively known as SoCal Uncensored or
SCU! This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot, the worst podcast I've ever been on. Word.
Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is Sunday, February the 23rd, 2020. I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, and subscribing on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, any place you find your podcasts. Make sure you're following on all social media platforms at Catch, Hook, Shoot. Head to patreon.com/CatchHookShoot for all your bonus content and ProWrestlingTees.com/CatchHookShoot for all of your t-shirt needs. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's CatchHookShoot@gmail.com. So we got a lot of stuff to get into this week. We got two pretty big pay-per-views coming up in the next week or so. But before we get into all that, we're going to kick everything off with our match of the week. This week's match of the week comes from NXT TakeOver Portland last weekend on Sunday, and it is the NXT Championship match between Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa. No big surprise there. It was a fantastic match with these two guys. Told a great story. Adam Cole is still your NXT champion. We saw, like I said, the match told a great story. Ciampa taking on pretty much the entire Undisputed Era. Looked a few times during the match, looked like he was going to come out on top with the NXT title, and then at the last minute we saw Johnny Gargano come down to the ring and basically pull a heel turn on Tommaso Ciampa. We'll get into that a little bit more in a couple of minutes here. But if you did not see this one, if you did not see NXT TakeOver Portland, it was a great pay-per-view like it always is from NXT. Every match was fantastic, so I highly recommend you check that out. But if you only check out one match this week, make it Adam Cole versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship. So rolling right into our next segment here, it is the top three, what I consider the top three highlights of the week, and of course I am talking about the 3 count. Number one on the 3 count is what I was just talking about. Johnny Gargano with the heel turn on Tommaso Ciampa during his NXT Championship match against Adam Cole. At the end of the match, like I said, there had been a lot of interference from the Undisputed Era. The title belt had ended up in the ring, and Ciampa was gonna try to pick it up, use it as a weapon against Cole, and Gargano basically snatched it away from him and hit Ciampa over the head with it, which allowed Cole to get the pinfall and retain the championship. And then of course we saw Ciampa come out to the ring during NXT this past Wednesday, basically calling out Johnny Gargano. I am 100% sure this is going to set up another match between these two for the next takeover event, which I believe is WrestleMania weekend. So, should be another just stellar match between these two guys. I mean, every match they've had has been match of the year quality. So, can't wait to see what they've got in store next. Number 2 on the 3 count is Charlotte Flair also made an appearance at NXT TakeOver after the Women's Championship match. Rhea Ripley had retained the NXT Women's Championship against Bianca Belair. And then Charlotte jumped in the ring, jumped Rhea from behind, and basically accepted her challenge for WrestleMania. So this is the first time we will see an NXT Championship defended on the main card of WrestleMania, which is huge. I mean, of course, there's always the NXT TakeOver during WrestleMania weekend, and you may see appearances from some NXT stars, like in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal or the Women's Battle Royal, one or the other. But this is the first time that an NXT title has a prominent spot on the main show of WrestleMania, and the first time a Royal Rumble winner has used their championship match to go for an NXT title. So a little bit of history being made here, and it is the NXT Women's Championship. So I'm looking forward to that match. I mean, I'm a fan of both of these women, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. So that should be a fantastic match. And number 3 on the 3 count, this past week we saw the first ever AEW steel cage match between Cody Rhodes and Wardlow. And yeah, I gotta be honest here. It was really hard not to give this one match of the week, but I couldn't put it over Cole and Ciampa. But this was definitely a close second. It was Wardlow's in-ring debut for AEW. You guys know how big of a fan of Wardlow I am, and yeah, he did not disappoint. Cody hit an amazing moonsault off the top of the cage to win the match, and did suffer a minor injury on that spot. It was a toe fracture, but he is cleared for competition, so we will be seeing him coming up at AEW Revolution. I'll be going through that card in a little bit here, but yeah, AEW's first cage match didn't disappoint. I thought the cage looked great. It was a little, different than a WWE cage. The standard cage. I mean, it was the chain link, but it went all the way to the floor. But there wasn't so much room in between the cage and the ring where the guys could fight on the floor. Inside the cage. It wasn't like a Hell in a Cell. It was not right up against the ring. I mean, honestly, the way it was set up was a little bit dangerous. If a guy was to get his arm or leg caught in there, it could have caused some serious injury. But overall, I think the look of it was really good, and it was a great match. I mean, like I said, Wardlow did not disappoint, and yeah, if I'm giving out a second prize or an honorable mention or whatever you want to call it for match of the week, it definitely goes to Cody and Wardlow in this cage match. So let's get into all the news and rumors going on in wrestling this week. Starting off on Monday Night Raw, we saw another beatdown on Matt Hardy from Randy Orton. There was supposed to be a no-holds-barred match between these two guys, but Matt Hardy came out with the neck brace, basically saying he wasn't cleared to compete, but he was still there to fight. And Orton just, like I said, put another beatdown on Matt, hit him with 2 concertos on the stairs outside the ring. I think it's probably a safe bet that Matt Hardy has now been written off of WWE television. I mean, like I said before, by all accounts, his contract is up next week on March 1st. So I would have to think this was pretty much his goodbye to WWE TV. But who knows? It could be wrong. Like I said, WWE may want to milk as much as they can out of Matt Hardy. And if that's the case, we could see him on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Getting into some NXT news, of course, I just talked about Charlotte Flair has accepted Rhea Ripley's challenge for WrestleMania. This past week on NXT, Bianca Belair came out to the ring and laid down a challenge to Charlotte. So we'll see what comes of that if Charlotte shows back up on NXT next week. Yeah, also some more news from NXT TakeOver. The Broserweights are your new tag team champions. Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle defeated the Undisputed Era. So Undisputed Era is now left with only one championship, and that is Adam Cole's NXT title. So they honestly thought they had a really good run with every title in NXT there for a good while, and it was awesome. I liked it, So as long as they don't do that too much, have all the titles on one particular group, I'm a huge fan of that. Also from NXT TakeOver, we saw Raquel Gonzalez, formerly known as Reina Gonzalez in NXT, helped Dakota Kai defeat Tegan Nox in their street fight. And as a result of that, in 2 weeks on NXT, we're going to see Dakota Kai against Tegan Nox one more time inside of a steel cage. We also saw Jordan Devlin retain the Cruiserweight Championship against Lio Rush in a great match between those two. I don't think that's any surprise to anybody. Moving over to SmackDown, we saw Goldberg actually make an appearance live in the arena, and of course The Fiend popped up during his in-ring promo. Goldberg did hit a spear on The Fiend, after which The Fiend promptly, just disappeared from the ring. The lights went out and they came back up. He was gone. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. They want to make Goldberg look strong, obviously. A lot of speculation going around. Is Goldberg going to win the Universal title? Is he not? What's going to happen with that? Personally, I think The Fiend is going to retain the title, but I'll get into the Super Showdown lineup in a little bit here. Also, some interesting stuff from SmackDown. We saw some quote-unquote glitches in the video with some images kind of popping up on the screen. It was basically looked like an envelope, and then in front of that was like a circle of lights. It's been interpreted a couple of different ways. The Circle of Lights is obviously very similar to the light in the glove that Ali wears to the ring. So a lot of people speculating that that's it's signaling his return. Other people saying that the Circle of Lights is a clock, which of course brings to mind Killer Cross. His whole kind of his catchphrase is TikTok. Things like that. So it could be either one. I mean, either one is a legitimate guess. So we'll have to see what's going to happen with that. Naomi defeated Carmella to qualify for a women's championship match. It's going to be happening on Super Showdown. Little bit of a surprise to me. I thought Carmella would win this one. I thought they would hold off on the Naomi and Bayley match until WrestleMania. But I guess I can see the logic in it. When it comes to the Saudi Arabia shows and the women on the shows, I think they want to have the best possible in-ring performance. And, if you look at it from that perspective, taking nothing away from Carmella, Naomi is the more athletic, what I think is the better in-ring performer between the two. Like I said, taking nothing away from Carmella, I'm not saying she's bad in the ring, because I think she is good in the ring, despite what so many haters online say. But, so we'll see Naomi and Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship coming up at Super Showdown. And NXT UK made the announcement their next takeover event, April the 26th, will be taking place from Dublin. So it's the first NXT UK takeover outside of the UK, which is pretty cool. Some miscellaneous WWE news. Had some reports this past week that Tito Ortiz has been training at the Performance Center, as well as Cain Velasquez. So Cain Velasquez, I guess, getting ready to come back. Wouldn't surprise me to see him involved in WrestleMania in one way or another. Tito Ortiz, obviously, he's been involved in pro wrestling a little bit before with TNA. And, nothing as far as, Tito Ortiz is getting a contract or going to have a match or anything like that. He was training at the PC. But I wouldn't have a problem seeing him making, like a special appearance or something like that for WWE, because he is a draw. And he's another one I think that they would probably use for Brock Lesnar, to continue the MMA type angle with him along the same lines as the way that they introduced Cain Velasquez. So we'll have to see what, if anything, comes out of that. Also, some interesting news. Apparently, Sasha Banks has been filming some scenes for the upcoming second season of The Mandalorian for the Disney Plus app. Now, I'm a huge Star Wars fan myself. I thought The Mandalorian was an awesome show. I can't wait for season 2. So I'm curious to see what kind of role Sasha Banks is going to have. So I'll be looking forward to that one. Some more Hall of Fame rumors floating around this week is that the British Bulldog is finally going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that's definitely well-deserved, and I'd say a bit overdue. Another name that's being thrown around is JBL. No complaints from me on that one. I thought, JBL, for his particular era, he was probably one of the top heels in the company. Held the WWE Championship for what at the time was a record-breaking reign, record-setting reign for that particular era. Was also officially announced this past week that the Bellas are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. A lot of dissenting views on this one going around online, which I'll get into that in a little bit. Then another rumor floating around is that WWE considering holding SummerSlam in the UK. Now, this is something that hasn't been done since, I want to say 1992, when the main event was Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog for the Intercontinental Championship. It was held at Wembley Stadium, so I would assume it'd probably be in the same venue. They had a huge crowd there, and if they do, I would think it would probably be on some levels a test to see if they'd be able to do a WrestleMania there, see what kind of interest. And I mean, UK fans have been clamoring for WrestleMania there for so many years, so I think SummerSlam will do very, very well there. So we'll have to wait for an official announcement on that one. And then some more WrestleMania stuff. There's been some names floating around online of people that have been booked for WrestleMania. Some past stars coming back, namely JBL, who I just talked about for the Hall of Fame, Hornswoggle, Santino Marella, Darren Young, and then also Brodus Clay and Cameron. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of role they have. Is it going to be something to do with Naomi? Because obviously, Naomi and Cameron started off as the Funkadactyls with Brodus Clay. So some interesting names, to say the least, being dropped for WrestleMania. And also, the last little tidbit here. Last night, Tyson Fury did defeat Deontay Wilder to become the World Heavyweight Boxing Champion. And, of course, that started all kinds of rumors about, possibly him making an appearance at WrestleMania. Now, whether that's for a match or just an appearance, who knows? Obviously has made an appearance for WWE in the past at their last Saudi Arabia show. So, definitely not outside the realm of possibility. But with this huge victory last night, I think that would definitely increase his price tag considerably. So we'll have to see what comes of that. But yeah, all kinds of congratulatory messages and things like that from WWE superstars online for Tyson Fury for his victory last night. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were at the fight. So we'll have to, like I said, we'll have to see what if anything comes of that. And of course, moving into some pay-per-view news before I get into the Super Showdown match card here. The Women's Elimination Chamber is pretty much set. The 6 women competing are Shayna Baszler, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, Natalya, and Asuka. So an interesting field there. I mean, Shayna Baszler, no surprise, she just started a feud with Becky just a week ago, or 2 weeks ago now, I guess. And so no real surprise her being in that match. All likelihood, I'd say she's going to win the match because she'll be the one to challenge Becky at WrestleMania. All 3 members of the former Riot Squad involved, which I was not really surprised about. Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. Sarah Logan, kind of a surprise entry to me, just because, she's kind of been relegated to main event and like enhancement type matches on Raw. So, but not complaining. I like Sarah Logan, so I'm glad to see her in a pay-per-view main event like this. Hopefully, it's a sign of things to come for her. And then Natalya and Asuka, of course, like I said, rounding out that field. So it looks to be a decent elimination chamber match for the women. So getting into Super Showdown coming up on Thursday at I want to say noon Eastern time, so it'd be 11 a.m. here in Chicago. Pretty good card. I mean, the Saudi Arabia shows essentially are, I mean, they're, pretty much a glorified house show. You don't see too much in the way of big developments or big storylines, except for the last one where the Fiend actually won the Universal title. That's been the biggest development of any of the Saudi Arabia shows thus far. But this time around, we've got the New Day defending the SmackDown Tag Team titles against The Miz and John Morrison. Brock Lesnar defending the WWE Championship against Ricochet. Roman Reigns versus King Corbin in a steel cage. The Fiend defending the Universal Championship against Goldberg. AJ Styles, Andrade, Bobby Lashley, Eric Rowan, R-Truth, and Rusev in a Tweak Trophy Gauntlet match. Not sure what the Tweak Trophy is, but from the pictures of it, it looks pretty cool. So, yeah, that's so those 6 guys going at it in a gauntlet match for that trophy. Then, as we talked about, we've got Bayley defending the SmackDown Women's title against Naomi in only the 2nd WWE Women's match in Saudi Arabia. So, I mean, I gotta say it's progress. If women's matches are going to be a regular part of the shows in Saudi Arabia going forward, I mean, that's definitely a step in the right direction, and WWE is to be credited for that. So, all the people that have such huge issues with WWE holding these events in Saudi Arabia, you can't deny that they have spurred at least a small amount of change. So, good on them. And then we've got for the Raw Tag Team Championships, Seth Rollins and Murphy defending against the Street Profits. So, I mean, on paper, a very, very good lineup for this event. So I'll definitely be checking it out probably Thursday night because I'll be at work when the event is actually taking place live. And moving into some AEW news, we saw the Young Bucks win a Tag Team Battle Royal to earn a Tag Team Championship match coming up at Revolution next Saturday. We also saw Cody defeat Wardlow in a cage, which I talked about a little bit earlier. Fantastic match. Definitely go back and check that one out as well. This week coming up, we've got Santana and Ortiz and Sammy Guevara taking on the Jurassic Express in a 6-man tag team match. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm a huge fan of Santana and Ortiz. Sammy Guevara is growing on me. I find him a bit annoying, but I think that's the point. I mean, he's a heel. You're not supposed to like him. And, he plays that part very well. So Sammy Guevara is growing on me. And Jurassic Express, I mean, Jurassic Express are just a lot of fun to watch in the ring. People get down so much on Marco Stunt because of his size, but, the guy can move in the ring. There's no denying that. And he can pull off some pretty cool stuff in there. Jungle Boy Jack Perry, I have no doubt at some point will be a huge main event star in AEW if he keeps going the way that he's going, and Luchasaurus is just over like crazy with the crowd. So this should be a great 6-man tag team match. And we're also finally going to see the next match between Pac and Kenny Omega, which will be a 30-minute Iron Man match this week on Dynamite. So that one I'm going to be glued to my TV for. Two of the very best in the ring that AEW has to offer, and that's saying a lot with the roster that they have. So Pac and Kenny Omega 30-minute Iron Man match. And then next Saturday, February 29th, we've got AEW Revolution, their next pay-per-view event. Only 4 matches set up for this one so far. I would assume there's going to be some more announced this week, during the week, possibly on Dark, possibly on Dynamite. I would expect to see at least a couple more matches added to this one. There are no women's matches so far, so I definitely expect to see at least one women's match added to the card, if not more than that. But what we're looking at so far, we've got Jake Hager making his in-ring debut, taking on Dustin Rhodes. And these two guys definitely no strangers to each other, both put in a lot of time in WWE, so that should be a good match between these two. The tag team title match we just talked about, the Young Bucks taking on Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. I'm looking for this one to be the pretty much the implosion of the Elite. This is where I'm looking to see possibly a full-on heel turn by Hangman Page, or possibly by Kenny Omega. Who knows? But I'm definitely looking to see some major events take place within the Elite during this match. As far as who's going to come out with the titles, I'm picking the Young Bucks. I don't think it would be an issue with the Young Bucks winning the tag team titles at this point. Yeah, obviously you're going to have the idiots online talking about, the VPs booked themselves as the champions. So what? They're EVPs of the company. They're also one of the best tag teams in the world. And this is more so than the titles. I think this is to play out this storyline with the breakup of the Elite. Then we are finally going to see MJF taking on Cody in a straight-up one-on-one singles match. Now, I am honestly looking for MJF to win this one. But obviously, by some type of nefarious means, I fully expect to see Wardlow interfering and, MJF just to use some underhanded type tactics. But I'm picking MJF in this one because I don't think it's going to quite be the end of this feud. And then for the AEW World Championship, Chris Jericho defending against Jon Moxley. A lot of back and forth with these guys, with especially with Jericho bringing in his hired gun, so to speak, in Jeff Cobb. Jericho taking out Moxley's eye, Moxley taking out, I believe it was Santana's eye, and it has gotten very, very personal between these guys. So, but I'm looking for Jericho to retain. I don't think they're going to take the title off of Jericho yet. I think he's going to have a lengthy championship reign just to kind of establish the title and bring some legitimacy to it and some prestige and things like that. And I think leaving it on Jericho for a year or so is what's going to do that. Now I could be wrong, and I have no issue with Moxley winning the title, but me personally, I think the title is going to stay on Chris Jericho. Some New Japan news. We've got new IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions in Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi won the championship this past week. In Ring of Honor, some more tag team news. Marty Scurll and Flip Gordon will be taking on Jonathan Gresham and Jay Lethal for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles at the ROH Anniversary Show on March the 13th. Some Impact news. It was announced this past week that they have signed Chris Bay to a contract. If you're not familiar with Chris Bay, look him up. Tremendous independent talent. So Impact has signed him to a contract. MLW announced this past week that Colonel Robert Parker will be returning to the company at their April 18th TV tapings here in Chicago. Now, if you're not familiar with Colonel Parker, go back and check out some of his WCW stuff, or even before that with, I believe it was Continental, was the territory that he was in. Was a great wrestler in his day, transitioned into a great manager, managed people like Ming and Terry Funk and Buckhouse Buck. And so Colonel Robert Parker returning to MLW on April the 18th. So that's going to do it for news and rumors for the moment. So right now, I am going to toss it over to Charlie G, and he is here with your Indie Cut.
Hey there, wrestling friends. I am Charlie G with your Indie Cut. First off, I would like to add my thanks to our listeners for the Warrior Wrestling 8 show last week, as well as Principal Steve, Tom for letting me call to action with him. It's an honor. All the wrestlers who I met that were so gracious with their time, and thanks for Tessa not knocking us over as she was thrown towards us at the table. I wish I kept my video camera going, but who knew? It was another great show, and I can't wait for the next one. Now let's start off with the GCW show, Run Ricky Run, from February 15th. The highlights include a six-way scramble match, Blake Christian defeating Cole Radrick, JJ Garrett, Jonathan Wolf, KTB, and Treehouse Lee. It was a super fun match between all six men, and Christian hitting a stalling DDT on Radrick for the win. Cool move, and yes, he did more choreographed stuff, which was always great. Don't pick on him, folks. He's a good up-and-comer, and I hope he gets signed on soon by some federation not ending in E. Next was Chris Dickinson defeating Jimmy Lloyd. Joey Janela defeating Jordan Oliver in a match all over the arena. Alley Cat defeating Mance Warner. Okay, I missed that. And in the GCW World Title Death Match, Ricky Shane Page retained against Nick Gage in about a half an hour death match. That had to be a good one. As I said, I would recap the Alpha 1 Deadly Encounter show from the 16th, but I could not find any results other than Warhorse did retain his IWTV Independent Wrestling Championship against Speedball Mike Bailey. I did find out our mystery man from Warrior Wrestling 8 that Mark Wheeler is the Alpha 1 male champion. Also, the owner, Ethan Page, yes, that Ethan Page, announced that Alpha 1 Wrestling will be part of Impact Plus. Check it out if you can. It looks like they have a nice talent variety from all over, and maybe their shows will be streamed from here on out. Now let's head to this week at AEW, The Art of War from the Logan Square Auditorium. This was not streamed, to my disappointment, for some reason. So I looked up Twitter for the best I can get out of the show. Nick Gage defeated Matthew Justice in a traditional hardcore match. TJ Perkins defeated ACH in a solid match. For the AEW Heavyweight Title #1 contendership, Fred Yehai defeated Hakeem Zayn, Jordan Oliver, and Josh Briggs. This, from what I read, was a great four-way. All four of these guys are really talented, so I didn't doubt that one bit. For the AEW Women's Title, Chris Statlander retained against Jody Threat. For the AEW Heavyweight Title match, Mance Warner defeated Sami Callihan in a wild, almost hardcore match. I don't think it was billed as that, but these two, I wouldn't put it past them. Then in the main event for the AEW Tag Team titles, the besties in the world retained against AR Fox and Myron Reed. Sounded like a great show all around from AEW. Maybe soon they will get on some streaming service or allow us to podcast the show live, which would be awesome. Now we head down to St. Louis Anarchy in your hall, Strong Style. In a hardcore tag team match, the Viking War Party, consisting of the American Viking and the Little Viking, a.k.a. Warhorse, defeated the Hooligans, Devin Cutter and Mason Cutter. This is a wild hardcore match, fighting all over the hall, where they did a sitting forearm slap punch party in the middle of the crowd. It was hilarious and great to see, until chairs started to fly in, and that was the end of that party. During their encounter throughout the hall, they did knock out the audio, so I did not hear any of what they were saying, so I just had to guess what was going on. The Vikings won with a simple double pin in what seemed to be the Hooligans' final Anarchy match. They had a Strong Style 8-man tournament. For the semifinal matches, it was Gary J defeating Aaron Williams by forearm knockout. Daniel Makabe defeating Kurt Stallion by triangle choke and a one-punch KO. So in the final match was Gary J defeating Daniel Makabe by another forearm KO. I guess that's how it kind of works for their Strong Style. Then in the Gateway Heritage title Pure Wrestling Rules match, Jeremy Wyatt retained against Evan Hilistico by countout. Weird way to end this match, but hey, I guess countout is a countout, and a win is a win. Now let's head overseas for a bit of news, where Rev Pro was live in Portsmouth on the 20th, where JJ Gale and Ricky Knight Jr. defeated Carlos Romo and Sean Jackson. Al Phantasmo got back on the winning streak against TK Cooper. Michael Oku defeated Kyle Fletcher. Giselle Shaw defeated Aliyah James. And Mark Haskins defeated Shota Umino in the main event. Good to see that for Umino. He's really picking up the pace. Finally then, I read about a show from Qatar on the 21st called Qatar Pro Wrestling Super Slam 2, where wrestling superstars from across the globe clash for 4 championship titles. Their general manager is none other than Eric Bischoff. He's still in wrestling, folks. This in Qatar. The lineup went like this: a ladder match with Caprice Coleman, PJ Black, Mil Muertes, Trista Archer, Rick Swan, and Dos Caras. White Eagle versus Matt Cross versus Matt Sydal. Enzo versus Brian Pillman Jr. Brian Cage versus Michael Elgin. Tag team triple threat with the Apollos versus Carlito and Chris Masters. Who knew? Jody Flesh and Johnny Storm. Their main event was Alafa versus Alberto Del Rio, who's champion, RVD, and Chris Raber. I couldn't find any results of this, but with that talent, which of course with some of the injuries had to be switched up. If I can find it, I will watch it and let you know what happened. But also appearing at the show was Mark Henry, the Great Khali, Kevin Nash, and Road Warrior Animal. I guess Qatar can't get enough wrestling, folks, and especially with the old timers. As I said, I would update you about Freelance Wrestling Show. It will be back at the Logan Square Auditorium on March the 6th for Lucky Punks, featuring our good buddy Warhorse in a triple threat rule-ass match for his IWTV Independent Wrestling Championship against Kobe Durst and Alex Zane, whose ankle seems to be doing okay. Get your tickets now. I'm sure it'll be another great show by Freelance. Next week I will recap the AAA and AIW shows from tonight and Progress 103 Beer Snake City. and anything else that comes along the way. Thank you for watching and listening. Hope you enjoyed the cut. Until next week, happy wrestling, everyone. That's a wrap for me, and back to you, Tom.
All right, that is Charlie G with your indie cut for this week. Thank you very much, Charlie. Appreciate all the work you're doing on the show. Can't thank you enough for contributing. So, getting into the next segment of the week here, just calling out the biggest idiots online. And this week, unfortunately, it is somebody who I was a big fan of back in the Attitude Era. But we'll get into that in a second. Of course, I am talking about the Troll of the Week. Alright, so the Troll of the Week this week, like I said, somebody who I was a fan of during the Attitude Era, and I am talking about Val Venus, or Sean Morley, or whatever you want to call him, whatever he's calling himself these days. And the reason he has been made Troll of the Week this week is because of just some really stupid, ignorant, uneducated comments he chose to make online about Nyla Rose becoming the AEW Women's World Champion. I'm not going to repeat any of it because to me it was deplorable and just uncalled for and just ridiculous, and he proved that he is pretty much on the same level as every other troll who has an issue with Nyla Rose being the women's champion. I mean, that's as simple as that. And even Cody Rhodes weighed in on this. He's like, he's trying to get a booking and he's not going to get it because of just the hateful stuff that he's been saying. So, honestly, it's to the point, it's really just tiresome because all of these people sound exactly alike with what they have to say when it comes to Nyla Rose. I mean, seriously, it's like they're all reading from the exact same playbook. No one, not a single one of them has an original thought about this particular topic. And it's funny because they like to call out people who are tolerant or people who are respectful of transgender people and other marginalized groups. If you're respectful of these people, you're a sheep because you're following along with all the liberal BS and blah, 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 blah. But like I said, all these people are reading from the exact same playbook, and if anybody in this scenario looks like a sheep, it's you guys. Trust me on that. You're the ones just blindly following without having any knowledge or education or even bothering to even ask questions about something you don't understand. So yeah, Val Venus, like I said, you just succeeded in proving just how much of a lowlife you really are. Apparently you didn't just play one on TV, you're one in real life. So Val Venus is your Troll of the Week. So moving into something a little bit more fun, this is my my armchair quarterback section of the show, or as Edge and Christian used to say on their podcast, I think they called it armchair arm dragging or whatever it might be. But this is where I get to just kind of say, what if this particular match would have happened? And I think y'all know what I'm talking about. It is the Fantasy Booker. This week's Fantasy Booker is a tag team match, and what could potentially have been, if it were to ever happen, the greatest tag team match ever to take place. And the two teams that I am putting in this match are so evenly matched up, so just unbelievably good in the ring. I mean, you're talking about four legitimate ring generals getting in there and mixing it up, and I'm talking about the Revival taking on the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. I mean, the similarities between these two teams is just insane. The Revival, they have not been booked very well by WWE, I will say that, but if you watched their NXT careers, they're one of the best tag teams out there right now, and they're, by all accounts, they are almost done with WWE. Their contracts are wrapping up. They have chosen not to re-sign. I would be astonished if they don't end up in AEW once their time in WWE is finished, because I've said it before and I'll continue to say it. I think AEW has the best tag team division in wrestling right now. And the Revival, like I said, one of the best tag teams on the planet. So, yeah, the Revival versus the Brainbusters. I mean, back in the day, that some of the Brainbusters' top opponents were teams like the Hart Foundation in WWE, and then in WCW or the NWA, teams like the Road Warriors, and just the list goes on, and just these are, two of the greatest teams in the history of tag team wrestling. And, you could legitimately, this would be a main event on any card. I think fans would go insane for it, especially fans like me who enjoy the mat style of wrestling. And it would just be an amazing match, plain and simple. I mean, so that's the fantasy booker for this week. That the Revival and the Brainbusters. I mean, book it any way you want to. It doesn't even matter who wins, who loses. It would just be an amazing, ridiculous wrestling match. It would be a clinic in tag team wrestling, and I would, just be on my feet the whole time for this one. So, yeah, fantasy booker, Revival, the Brainbusters. Like I said, book it however you want. There's no possible way that this would be anything but a classic. So moving into the final segment of the show this week, given my probably not so popular opinion on a topic that's been going around in wrestling this week, and I am talking about the weekly hot take. My hot take for this week, talked a little while ago about the Bella Twins officially being announced for this year's Hall of Fame ceremony, and you know what? They deserve it. Not a real popular opinion this week. A lot of hate online about the Bellas being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. A lot of people whining and crying about other people that should go in before them. And I'm not denying that the other names that people were dropping don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Names like Victoria and Molly Holly and Mickey James. Yes, they all deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But, I talked about this last week. And it's something that Triple H had said, you can't put everybody in all at one time. And when it comes to the women, unfortunately, it seems to be the pattern for WWE. Every year you get one woman inducted. And I think that's stupid, honestly, but that just seems to be the way that they're going, the way that they're doing things. Or in this case, the Bella Twins going in together as a team, as it were. But you only get one women's induction per year. I don't know why. It seems dumb. It seems like an outdated concept. But it is what it is. I mean, I don't think I'm in any position to change the WWE's policy on this. But I don't agree with it. But that's just how it is. And this year, that spot has gone to the Bella Twins. And, despite what everybody seems to think, they're horrible in the ring and this and that, they only got to where they're at because of who they slept with. I addressed this before, too. You're a relationship, be it a family relationship, romantic relationship, is only going to get you so far. It might get you in the door, might get you a contract, but when it comes down to it, you're the one that's got to prove yourself in that ring. And I think people tend to forget, the Bella Twins had WWE contracts long before John Cena or Daniel Bryan were in the picture. So, they got those contracts on their own merits, and they moved to the top of the women's division pretty much on their own merits, and they became mainstream stars, through their reality shows, Total Divas, Total Bellas. They brought a lot of mainstream attention to the WWE with just their appearances on like ETV and talk shows and late night shows and whatever. So they did a lot to bring a lot of mainstream eyes to the product and a lot of new eyes to the product who maybe weren't familiar with it before, until they saw Total Divas and they said, okay, well, let me check out, what these women do in this whole wrestling thing. And so you can't deny the contribution on that level. Nikki Bella, longest reigning Divas champion in history, neither one is the greatest in-ring worker of all time, I'll give you that, but neither one is what somebody online called a botch machine or, whatever it might be. I mean, yes, when Brie Bella came back after she had her child, She had some timing issues and things like that. And, stuff happens. It's called ring rust. I mean, the fact that fans are not willing to give performers a chance. It's like they expect perfection every single time, no matter what. If somebody's been out with an injury, or somebody's just been out in general, or in Brie Bella's case, out giving birth to a child, and whatever it is, they expect perfection, and it's ridiculous. How would you feel if you went into work and you're, somebody told you have to be perfect. You can't make any mistakes ever. Human beings don't work that way, guys. Sorry to tell you. And that's what all these wrestlers are. They're human beings. So, I have no issue with the Bella Twins going into the Hall of Fame. Yes, there are other women who deserve to be in there, but that doesn't mean the Bella Twins do not deserve to be in there. Hopefully at some point in the near future, the idea of only one women's induction per year will change. I mean, I'd like to see a Hall of Fame where it's all women. Have 5-6 women inducted into the Hall of Fame in one year. Last year would have been the perfect time to do it with women main eventing WrestleMania for the first time. Make WrestleMania weekend all about the women. I mean, hell, they deserve it. Put in Mickie James and Victoria and Molly Holly and God, whoever else you can think of. I mean, a lot of. Trish Stratus obviously is already in there. Lita's already in there. But there's plenty of women out there who deserve to go in, and I'd love to see 4, 5, 6 women inducted in one year. But unfortunately, that's not how the WWE does things. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. So weekly hot take: the Bellas deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. If you don't agree, hey, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But what you're not entitled to do is just rip on people or cut people down because they disagree with your opinion. Okay, so get over it. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's not going to stop it from happening. So that's pretty much going to wrap us up for this week. Again, thank you to everybody for listening, watching, and subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts from. Make sure you checked out the show on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, and LinkedIn. On any of those, you can find the show at Catch Hook Shoot. Patreon.com/CatchHookShoot for bonus content, and ProWrestlingTees.com/CatchHookShoot for all your t-shirt needs. And make sure you drop me an email at CatchHookShoot@gmail.com with any questions, comments, anything you want to say about the show. I'm open to hearing from you guys about anything you want to talk about. So once again, that's CatchHookShoot@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with the results and developments from AEW Revolution and WWE Super Showdown. I'm sure the WrestleMania picture is going to start becoming a little bit more clear over the next few weeks, so we'll definitely be keeping up with that, plus all of the news and rumors. And as always, the Indie Cut with Charlie G, the Troll of the Week, the Match of the Week, all the fun stuff we got going here on Catch, Hook, and Shoot. And as always, I want to end the show telling you guys, keep your loved ones close to you. Make sure they know what they mean to you. Tell them, show them, let them know how important they are. And just, let go of the small stuff, guys. Forgive and, move forward. Always move forward. Don't hang on to stuff from the past, because that's just going to it's going to slow you down, it's going to drag you down, and it's going to create problems. So like I said, forgive and just keep moving forward and keep the ones that you care about close to you. So with that, I am going to sign off for this week. Hope everybody has a great week. Enjoy all the great wrestling coming up, and I will talk to you guys soon.